So when we walk people through how to use some of the different large language model platforms with SM advisors, what we end up doing is spending an hour, hour and a half, 2 hours, really holding somebody's hand and walking them through the details and then answering a lot of back and forth questions. Those recordings tend to get pretty long. And so what I'm doing here is just trying to make some of these shorter clips. There's going to be a lot of information, but if I put all the information in here quickly, you'll be able to go through the recording as needed. What we're going to talk about today is creating an agent with Copilot. And so all I'm going to do is go into office.com or open my Copilot app. Right now I'm in my desktop app. It doesn't really matter, both are the same. I'm going to click on agents. So you may not have any agents up here, but if you clicked on agents, clicked on create agents, you would come to this view and you would see describe. You can go through and you can talk to the agent builder that Microsoft has to be able to get a lot of content into what you want the agent to do, how you want it to act, what kind of resources that you want it to leverage. I really encourage you to go look at another one of our videos that's on the website where we talk about how to build an agent builder. And then that agent builder, I get much better responses from. So what I end up doing is talking to my agent builder, getting it to give me the instructions, and then coming to configure and just putting the information in myself. I'm just going to walk through what you do in each box. If you're following along with the agent builder and you've created that agent, you're going to come into these instructions and you're going to paste in all of the instructions for that agent. You're then going to go in. And once you've pasted the instructions, you're going to take the name of the agent, put it into here. I always like to give it something of a fun name. So in this circumstance, we're going to say, this is Baxter. You can see I've already created Baxter. In the description, if you're following the outputs from the Copilot builder, all you're going to do is you're going to take the role section and copy what makes sense out of that role section. This description has no impact on anything other than describing to another user or to you, if you forgot what it does, what this agent does in a very short sentence. Don't put way too much thought into building the description. When we come down to the bottom section here, the knowledge is where we're going to give Baxter, or we're going to give this agent whatever knowledge we want it to have. Now, what I tell a lot of people is that it's just like giving an intern a book, an encyclopedia, telling them, hey, this is A, right? A through B. And so we expect that the intern's going to go to it and leverage the encyclopedia to be able to give me answers to any of my questions that would come from encyclopedia A through B. But what we're going to end up finding is that sometimes that intern's going to vary a little bit. That's because the intern's been trained on their life circumstances. Before they got to your organization, they've been understanding a lot of everything they've been taught, right? So in certain circumstances, this is the same thing with agents. It may revert to the training that it's had prior to this versus using that exact circumstance. But by clicking on only use specified resources or sources, we can say, hey, intern, I'm really going to try to narrow you down into that box. So agent, don't navigate outside of this. If you're going to give me sources, I want you to give me sources directly from where it is that you would given me the information. A couple more things. If you were to click into this box, we can add all sorts of different content. So we can add files, we can add sites. This is where a lot of the conversations we have around building the SharePoint site to have a very simple RAG model so that you know where the data set is, you've got an owner of that data set, and you can have agents built on top of it. I can click into these sites. I could come down to the Accounting and Research Hub, which is a site that has information for the call report within it that I've placed into it. I can also go copy the actual URL or the location of that specific call report guidance and paste it into here. And so it would be a subset of this Accounting Research Hub that it would be pulling from. We can also add other documents that are in here, you can see some of the examples that are here. When you come down to the bottom section here, if you want to be able to create images with it, you just have to toggle this on. If you want to be able to create some of these other Office related documents, you can turn this on. I encourage you not to over rely on the production of some of these files from your agent's output. There's other avenues to take if you really want polished outputs. Microsoft's Office just doesn't seem to be there yet. Maybe it'll get there eventually. The last thing we're going to talk about is a suggested prompt. The suggested prompt's really important for you allowing somebody else to use your agent. So, or if you forgot how the agent operates in the first place. So what I might do is say something like, how to get started. And then the message is going to be, I'm going to give you a question that I have about the call report. When I do, I want you to research only the source I've provided in your knowledge to give me an answer. And so what that's doing now is, for a user that hasn't ever used your actual agent, you can just click into here, and that's the initial prompt that gets populated. So they don't need to know how to go about doing it. They just need to do that. Click that one button, and it'll get them going in the right direction with the agent. I do encourage you, don't put way too many of these. I only do one message ever, because if somebody new is using my agent, I don't want them to have to think about which route do I take. Just give them one route to get started on and moving in that direction. Once you're done with all of that, you're going to hit create. One thing that I want you to be thinking about is that when you're building these, you need to understand that the agents within Copilot do not tend to be running on the most current models of OpenAI's GPTs. They tend to be running on a slightly older version. And so you're going to get much less thought and reasoning when you're using these agents until they upgrade the model. You're going to get much less thought and reasoning from these models than you would if you were to go into chat and change to one of the more current GPT models. These are the older versions of ChatGPT. They're just cheaper for it to be run. These are the newer versions. And so when I'm typically interacting with anything in Copilot, I'm using one of these two models. So I just have to come over here and toggle it.